Me spend my life. So of course, Houston has been getting deluged since with a historic storm Harvey for 4 or 5 days now, and there have been amazing acts of kindness. There have been staggering acts of humanity, and everybody's heartened by even when a tragedy like this, even as tragic as it is met with such bright humanity. And I think our human beings of the week are all the people in Houston. They are just doing an amazing job, and people from all over the country chipping in. But anytime you have something amazing, you have something selfish and small. And Joel Osteen closed his church shortly after the hurricane began. Now, I'd like to point out that he has a mega church he bought where the Rockets used to play, almost 17,000 seats. He has a TV ministry, and he collects a lot of money. A church doesn't exist just to provide you money. It doesn't exist just to marry people or bury people or spiritually counsel people. It exists to provide people not just spiritual shelter, but sometimes shelter from the rain. Sometimes it doesn't exist to lift people out of the fog of despair, of lack of spirituality. Sometimes it does that for people who are homeless. Sometimes it just doesn't feed you spiritually. It has to feed you physically. When you close your doors, that's not your door. Those are not your doors to close. Those doors belong to Christ. Those are his doors. You get the tax benefit you get because you say you're an agent of Christ, that you're doing what you're doing for him. That's not your money. Those are not your doors to close. Those are not your people to turn away. That is God's house. Christians love to say, what would Jesus do? I defy you to find me a place where you can reasonably say that Jesus would shut his doors during the most turbulent time in this city's history. That is selfish and small-minded, and anybody who makes excuses for that is just as selfish and small-minded. That's not your church. Those are your people, and they're drowning and they're crying out. Then later on, you said, well, they can't get here. They managed to get to other mosques and small churches. They managed to find refuge there. To me, it's because you get a tax exempt status, when something of this magnitude happens, churches should have to open their doors. They should have, religious people who get the benefit of a tax exemption should have to open their doors when something like this happens. And you shouldn't have to be told that. You should know it should have to happen. God should have put that on your heart. You were called to be an agent of him, and you don't know better than to close your doors while people are drowning and suffering? That's selfish and small-minded. That's very unchristian. I'm a pagan, and I wouldn't do that. So you tell me, so then shortly after that, he said his doors, there was nowhere to get to, and a man showed a video of how clear it was. And then he came out and opened this church up. It's wetter today, just as wet today as it was when you closed the door. I guarantee you, if that storm had happened on a Saturday, Sunday his ass would have had those doors open. Those 16 or 17,000 seats are not just for taking tithes. They're for providing people from the shelter. That church doesn't exist for you to just have a tax shelter. Sometimes it's shelter for your sheep. You didn't change your mind. God didn't put that on your heart to change your mind. Twitter did. All right, that's a little note from the GED section. We got the Jazz Report coming up in 15 minutes. It's the D.L. Hughley Show.